Hello, good morning, or afternoon, or evening, wherever you may be. I'm Susie Grusin, back here. Again, Tuesday Tips with Susie on how to manage and overcome body dysmorphia disease. So I will mention again, as I do every week, for new people coming on that don't really know me, and I do want to have this disclaimer up so you understand that I am not a psychologist or a psychiatrist or even a behavioral therapist. I'm a woman who has dealt with BDD and an eating disorder for over 30 years, and I've overcome it or learned to manage it. And I come on here on Tuesdays at this same time to share some tips on how I deal with BDD and my eating disorder that is now in the past. Although there are moments, I'll talk about later, that I do have to manage it. But I'm here because I want to share these tips with you and hoping that it will help you to overcome what you're dealing with, because I just know how so difficult this is. But I do want to ask, for those of you who have been joining me or who have been watching the replays of the Facebook Lives, I'm curious, are you using some of the tips that I've been sharing? Which ones have been the most helpful to you? I would love to get that feedback from you. So if you can put that here, or later on, if you want to put it up on this page and let me know, I'd really appreciate it. I'd like to see what's the most helpful for you. So today, what I want to talk about is some of the underlying emotions that cause us to have these BDD behavioral things that we do. Things like, body checking, constantly checking ourselves out in the mirror, or the facial flaw that we perceive that we have, or the feelings of can't measuring up, or perhaps some of you can't even look in the mirror and you feel so disgusted by the way you look, by that perceived facial flaw, that you actually cover it up. And some of the other things that we may do is, restrict our eating, or constantly asking for reassurance from somebody else. And some of the other things is these underlying emotions, this deep feeling of shame and embarrassment, or disappointment, or even guilt. And it's very difficult to deal with. So I do want to say that the hidden feelings that cause you to feel this disgust or shame when you look in the mirror really need to be looked at, because that is the deeper issue that goes below what we're feeling about our outside. You see, people with BDD, or people who have a negative concept of themselves, they place greater value on how they feel or how they look. There's greater importance of what they look like instead of what they truly are, who the person they really are. They place greater value on our outside, when the inside of our talents, of how we are as a person. Are we good people? Do we treat people with respect and kindness? I've talked about this in the past. Also, people with a negative view of themselves feel unhappy, very unhappy. And when they feel unhappy about themselves and their appearance, then they start to have low self-esteem. And when you have low self-esteem, then you're affected by other people's feelings or thoughts about you. You're susceptible to their influence, and that contributes to your low self-esteem. People who have a positive body image or a positive view of themselves, they have a sense of acceptance, they're realistic about the goals about their appearance, knowing that we can't be perfect. Not every part of ourselves is going to be perfect, because there is no such perfect person like that. Hi, LaBella, welcome. They feel comfortable in their own skin, and they can accurately depict how other people view them. See, there's the difference. We put greater value on what others think of us, and what we think they're thinking of us. They may not even necessarily be thinking the things that we're thinking. They probably don't even care. Most of us feel that everybody's looking at us and pointing a finger and making fun of us and criticizing us. But a lot of that is our BDD mind. They're not actually thinking that. It's what we think, and that we're projecting that outwards. So notice the difference. And I know it's not easy to be able to shift that mindset, but if you notice the difference, maybe that will help. I talked about shifting mindset in other Facebook Lives that I've done in the past. So you can go back and look at those. They're here on this page. You can just put my name in the search on this page and you'll see the other videos I did. So I want to ask, why is it that we can't stop body checking? Why is it that we're constantly criticizing ourselves or covering ourselves up because we're afraid to be seen? What is it that we cannot accept about the way we look? So a couple of weeks ago, we did this exercise called 7 Levels Deep. And we asked 7 questions of ourselves. And I believe that most of us came down to the answer of, well, what is it that we truly want? We want to be accepted. We want to be loved. And we want to feel like we belong. However, when we don't feel that way, it's so much easier to pick on our outside. It's so much easier to criticize what we look like because, quite frankly, it's hard to take a look at what's going on the inside. But what is going on is sometimes we feel guilt, we feel shame, we feel disappointment, among a lot of other emotions. So I want to take a look at today these 3 emotions and hopefully help you navigate your way through them. So what I'm going to ask you to do is take a look at a time where you were doing these negative behavioral patterns. It could have been 5 minutes ago, an hour ago, a year ago, sometime in the past. Pick a time where you were in your BDD brain and you were actually criticizing yourself. So pick a time, pick a situation. Got it? Okay. So looking at that moment, can you recall what was going on right before you started to criticize yourself or body check or cover up yourself or maybe isolate yourself, not want to go outside because of how you look? What was going on right before? Were you having an argument with someone? Were you feeling overwhelmed? Were you working too much? Were you on social media a lot and started comparing yourself? What was the situation that was going on? Were you experiencing some kind of a loss? Can you recall what was happening? Take a moment. Okay, now that you've recalled that situation, do you remember what were you feeling at the time? Do you remember at the time you were in this situation, were you feeling, hi Anna, welcome. Were you feeling sadness? Were you feeling grief? Were you feeling frustrated? Were you feeling anger, shame, guilt, disappointment, or any other emotion? Can you recall? Okay, so what is it that we're actually doing here? We were actually identifying the cause of your obsessive behavior with BDD. We're identifying the cause of your obsessive behavior. Did you do something that conflicts with your values, or you were upset about it? See, because before you can overcome this behavior, you need to be really honest with yourself. Get really honest about what it is that's truly bothering you, because that's what's underneath the behavior. I want you to recognize and to understand that you're not to judge yourself. You're judge your actions. Don't judge yourself. It's important to separate your actions from who you are. Guilt or feeling badly about your actions, it actually shows that you're a good person. That you're a good person and that you're acknowledging that a mistake has been made. It's okay, we all make mistakes. That's fine. But what guilt teaches us, it teaches us right from wrong. It helps us to monitor our behavior and lets us know when we've actually crossed a boundary that we've set for ourselves. We've crossed a boundary that we have set for ourselves, and it's actually very helpful. It's helpful to notice that. So what can we do about it? Well, here we go again. I'm going to bring you back to something that I've shared with you before, and that's reframing. Reframing is so incredibly helpful to change our mindset. So for instance, you may say, well, I feel guilty when I gossip about somebody else, or I feel guilty because I told this little white lie. So instead of feeling guilty, understand why you gossiped. Understand why you told that little white lie. Go deeper and understand why you're doing this. You don't have to feel guilty about it. See, feeling guilty means I may have done something that doesn't meet my expectations. I've done something wrong. I'm not bad, I've done something wrong. What you can do is course correct. Perhaps next time, I won't gossip about that person because I know that doesn't feel right. I don't want somebody to do that about me. Or perhaps I don't have to tell that little lie because I can speak my truth. Why is it that we do that? It's because we're afraid that someone's going to judge us or may discount us or may not pay attention to what we're really saying. But it's okay. It's my truth. I can stand in my truth. And I don't have to tell that little lie. And I don't have to feel guilty about it. I'm going to share with you something that happened to me just very recently. In the last couple of weeks, I've had to deal with some issues with my mom. She's not doing very well. And I'm feeling guilty that I can't be there for her as much as I would like to. I know she's being taken care of, but I'm her daughter, and I want to be there for her. Now, this is what has happened. With COVID going on, I made the choice to stop going to the gym. I went back to the gym for a little while, and then with the new variant that's out there, and having to wear a mask in the gym, I made the choice, I'm not going to go to the gym because I don't want to wear a mask. It's hard to breathe as I'm working out. So in the last few weeks, I stopped exercising. And I noticed that I started feeling guilty about my mom. And what did I start doing? I went back to an old habit. See, I'm not perfect. I'm here sharing with you how I manage my BDD and that I've gotten over it. But there are times where it creeps up. So I started body checking again. And I started weighing myself again. And I realized, oh my God, what am I doing? What is really going on that I'm doing this again? Because I'm feeling guilty that I can't be there for my mom the way I'd like to be. So last week I decided to not come on here and be with my mom and help her out, even though she has a caregiver. See, we can take a look at what is really going on underneath the crazy behavior that we have. And that's what I did. And I started to realize I don't have to feel guilty. I got help for her. I am very busy. I talk to her almost every single day, and she is being taken care of. So I wanted to show you that how it relates, how our emotions relate to some of the craziness that we do when it comes to our BDD. So let's move on to the next emotion, shame. Here's the definition of shame. Shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion that's typically associated with a negative evaluation of ourselves. I'll repeat that. Shame is an unpleasant, self-conscious emotion typically associated with a negative evaluation of ourselves. Feelings of distress, mistrust, powerlessness, worthlessness. This all becomes part of our identity when we're dealing with shame. You see, it becomes the lens in which we see the world. When we feel powerless, when we feel valueless or worthless, it becomes part of our low self-esteem, and shame is at the crux of it all. You see, shame is the reason perhaps maybe you won't get help. Because we feel worthless, we feel valueless, we feel like we're going to fail anyway, so what's the point? I'm just going to disappoint myself and frustrate myself anyway. But recognizing what shame is will help you to ask for help, which is so important. You see, guilt is about what we do. Shame is about who we think we are. We may think we're a bad person. Guilt is about, I did something bad. Shame is about, I am bad. This is the feeling. It's not the truth, but this is the feeling that we have. You see, guilt is not harmful. But shame, on the other hand, it's not helpful or healthy. See, we feel shame. We take something that we've done or failed to do and use it as proof that we're not worthy of love or connection. But these are all false concepts in our mind. So when you feel shame, when you start to feel shame, I'd like you to stop and tell yourself, that inner judge of mine is beating me up again. The inner judge is beating me up again. Just the fact that you're aware of this, it lessens the hold on that feeling, and it can alleviate some of the pain. The next thing we can do, now that you know what it feels like, because sometimes shame, it feels like that gut punch. It feels like you were punched in the stomach. You feel so embarrassed by whatever you think you've done that's so shameful. That's what it feels like. The next step is understanding why this feeling came about. Why did this happen? Is it because you failed at something recently? Are you remembering something from the past? Go a little bit deeper, dig. It's okay to dig and see what that's all about. Maybe it's not easy, but it's really necessary. See what it's about, because maybe the thing that you think you're so ashamed about isn't really that bad. See, what was the sequence of events that triggered that feeling? This is really important so you can identify the potential shame triggers, and you can cut it off at the past. And when we're feeling shame, the next thing that we can do is connect with somebody that we trust, whether it's a therapist or a really good friend, perhaps a parent, somebody that you really trust and that really loves you, and that can de-shame you. They can help you to understand, if you share with them the incident, they can help you to understand that what you've done is probably not really that shameful, and that we can move past it. This is a release that's incredibly healing. Like when you're journaling. When you're journaling, it's very cathartic because you're getting the feeling and the thought out of your body. When you're talking to someone, whether it's a therapist or a good friend, You're getting it out of your body. Very cathartic and very helpful. Okay, and the last thing I want to talk about, the last emotion, is disappointment. And disappointment is about not getting an expectation or a need met. Its purpose is to keep you moving forward to what's beneficial and away from what's going to come back and bite you. Disappointment is very useful. It teaches you how to make a realistic and well-informed choices by recognizing the balance between what it is you want and what it is you don't want. It also helps you to have discernment. This is really a good one, to have discernment over who you would like to have in your life. Who is trustworthy? Who is reliable? Who is dependable? It helps you to discern who is important enough for you to keep in your life. With discernment, it also helps you to recognize that you have power. You actually have the power to make these decisions. Look, we all get disappointed in our life, from little things to big things. We also disappoint other people, not meaning to, but it does happen. So if you recognize it, that we do it to other people, not purposefully, but sometimes we can't meet what they want because they have different ideas about what they want for their life, and you can't meet that. Not everybody can meet all of our needs, and vice versa. So that's okay. So when we feel disappointed, sometimes we may have thoughts of, not everything goes right in my life. Everything goes wrong. But that's not necessarily true. So again, let's use reframing, and we can tell ourselves, I have things in my life that go well, and there are things in my life that don't go well. That's what happens. That's just all part of life. Part of disappointment is just teaching ourselves that we can't have everything always go our way. But that's okay. That's okay. Some other thoughts that we may have when we're feeling disappointed, that if I wasn't so needy, I wouldn't be disappointed so much. However, we can reframe that and understand that everybody has legitimate needs. Everybody has needs. And as I mentioned, we can't always meet those needs. But what's most important, perhaps we can meet those needs ourselves. If we're feeling needy, find a way to feel good about yourself. There's the things I've talked about in the past, that we can go ahead and meet our own needs. And maybe another thought we may have is, if I chose the right people in my life, I wouldn't be disappointed. But that also is a false statement. What's really true is it's natural and expected to be disappointed in our life. But it's to what level, and how can we manage it? So, you can use this now to see current situations and emotions that are coming up in your life. And when you have these emotions coming up, I know they're sitting in your body. And I taught and I've shared with you how to go ahead and work with these emotions in your body. And that is using the breath, using your breath. When you have an emotion come up, it sits in your body somewhere. Could it be in your belly? Could it be in your chest? Could it be in your throat? It's to notice where that emotion is sitting. And what we do is to move the emotion, to move the energy with using our breath, because emotion is just energy. Again, I've talked about this before, but let's go through this again, because this is really important. So what we do is we take a deep breath in, and we exhale, and we take another deep breath in, and we exhale. But when we take the next deep breath in, we notice where that emotion is lying, and we exhale the breath through that body part where the emotion is. Okay, so let's say it's in your belly. We take the deep breath in, and we exhale, and we visualize the breath going into the belly. And we continue to do this as long as it takes until you start to feel the emotions start to dissipate, till the energy starts to dissipate. It may take a few moments, it may take a few minutes, it may take 10 minutes, 15 minutes, but that's okay. It's important that you take the time. But I also want to tell you that that emotion may move to a different body part. So let's say it's in your belly, it may move up to your chest. And so you breathe, you do the breathing exercise until the energy dissipates in the chest. And eventually it will lessen and will loosen. So again, we manage our emotions by altering the beliefs, by reframing that underlie what's really going on. Okay, so what I would like you to do this week is take the time, if you can, and recognize what is the situation that is going on right before you're doing some of the negative behavior that we do when we have BDD. Recognize the situation. What is the emotion underneath? We breathe through it. We reframe. And then you can work through it. Okay. So I hope this was helpful today. All right. I know these last couple of weeks, or last few times that I've been on here, we've been going through some heavy duty things. And I know it's very necessary, and I hope it's helping you, and I hope you're taking the time to do it. But I also want to let you know that starting next week, we're going to ease up on this. We're going to get into some other things that I'd like to share with you that is not so heavy duty. The things that I've been sharing with you are very traditional ways of helping you to deal with and manage the BDD. But next week, I'm going to go into some holistic things that can help you. Some things that are probably easier to do and a little more fun, and I find very exciting. And this is what has truly helped me in the next few weeks that I'll be sharing with you to move through all of this. So I thank you again for being here. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you, Anna, Sue. I thank you for always being here. I appreciate it. And who else has come on here today? LaBella, thank you so much. And everybody else who comes on to watch the replay, thank you. And please put your comments here. I see that a lot of you are putting hearts up, so thank you. And put up your comments on the page. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions. Have a wonderful week, and see you next time. Bye, everybody.